Now, as for Nick Foles, he did not play against the Saints in the regular season, but he will be under center on Sunday afternoon. Foles, by the way, speaking to the media earlier today, and he was asked about trying to keep pace with Drew Brees and that explosive Saints offense.
I can't go out there and worry about scoring 100 points. You can only score 6. And then you can choose to go for 2 or you can kick the extra point. And that's my philosophy, because there's a lot of times as a younger player or anyone, you know, you go into games against a team that's been very successful. You're like, man, I got to score X amount of points. And that's not the case. Just go play the game, play the play. Each game is a new entity. You don't do this game alone. We have our defense that's going to be ready to roll, our special teams, our offense. So we're going to go play great team Philadelphia football, and that's all we can do, one play at a time.
You want to know more about Nick Foles? We have more. He has the highest career postseason passer rating in NFL history. In 5 career postseason games, he has a 105.2 QB rating, putting him ahead of the likes of Hall of Famers Bart Starr and Kurt Warner, as well as Matt Ryan and his counterpart this Sunday, Drew Brees. Now, Rube, I will start with you. Your expectations of Foles on Sunday. Will we see another vintage Nick Foles performance?
He's never played bad in the postseason. He has that ability to raise his level in the biggest games. We saw it certainly in Minneapolis. You know what? He's a guy that is never affected by the moment. You know, it doesn't matter. There's something about him where mere mortals, when they're faced with, you know, down 4 points with a minute and a half left and 100 million people watching on TV, that's going to get to them. Nothing bothers this guy. And that calm, I think, kind of, you know, has a ripple effect throughout the huddle. And in the biggest moments, I think that really helps explain why he's played at such a high level in all his postseason games. Even the one in 2013, he played pretty well, left the field with the lead against the Saints. So I don't expect that to change. The stats weren't quite as good because he had the 2 early picks in Chicago. But, you know, at the end of the game, he's always at his best because stuff doesn't bother him. He doesn't let it.
All right, Ray, you still have to return to the scene of the initial crime.
Right.
But how big of a difference will it be with having Nick Foles under center, considering Carson Wentz had his shot in the regular season and he served up 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 interceptions?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of feed off the same theme that Ruben just offered. I think that one of the great qualities that Nick Foles has is this almost Zen-like kind of presence about him that, look, you know what you're going to be walking into Sunday. You've been in that building. We've all been in that building. It's going to be loud. It's going to be frenetic. And what you need is a quarterback that's just completely cool. And you know he's going to be that, regardless of how things are going. That's a tremendous advantage. The other thing is, and again, the theme, kind of the red zone thing we were talking about. We talked about how big the Eagles' red zone defense, how important that's going to be, holding Brees to 3s. On the other side of it, when the Eagles get their red zone opportunities, they're going to have to score. They can't settle for 3. They're going to have to score touchdowns. And this team has been really good scoring touchdowns with Nick Foles at quarterback. What better example than the final drive in Chicago? I mean, they're 8 for 13 with Foles in the red zone since he's come back. That's a pretty hefty conversion rate. When earlier this season, when Carson Wentz was in there, you know, they were struggling in the red zone. They weren't scoring touchdowns. Well, they're scoring touchdowns down there now with Foles under center, and they're going to have to do that if they're going to win the game on Sunday.
All right, Barrett, if there's one thing we know about Nick Foles is that the bright lights don't faze him, and he won't be intimidated by stepping on the same field as that future Hall of Famer Drew Brees, because he did it back in January 2014.
No question, you know, and just from a player's point of view, I love the way they have stats and they back up their stats because the play dictates that. But when you come from a player's point of view, playing with a guy like Nick Foles, you get that calmness about him. So now you've sat back, you say, all right, then if he's calm, he feels as though we're going to do it, then we're going to do it. Guys start playing better. They start going out and catching plays that they hadn't done before. Look how he's dispersed the ball. Look at the guys stepping up their game in order to complement Nick Foles in his game. Alshon Jeffrey's coming out to play. Now we have the emergence of Golden Tate coming out to play. These guys understand where he can get the ball to him, when they need to get him, how they need to get it to him, and they're playing up to their ability and surpassing their ability since, you know, Carson Wentz, and playing for Nick Foles and understanding he will get the ball to him. It's not just Zach Ertz that's getting the fair share of the balls. He is dispersing it to everybody. Everybody wants to be a part of it. They're keeping that offense on the field, which is allowing the offense to score, and now the other team's offense is off the field. Huge time possession difference since Nick Foles has been at the helm as opposed to Carson Wentz.
If there's one thing the Eagles cannot afford to do, they cannot afford to fall behind the Saints team 14-0, 17-3, because that's when the Saints have you exactly where they want you, and that's when the opposition begins to make mistakes, which could cost a score or two. pile up against you even more so.